I believe that adults who attempt to or actually buy children for sex in the state of California should go to prison.
Grove is going after those who buy sex with minors.
We are particularly concerned that the harsher penalties proposed in this bill will disproportionately impact marginalized communities, especially members of the LGBTQ community.
And there it is.
That was an opposition witness at a California Assembly meeting, saying that a bill that would increase the penalties for paying a minor for sex would negatively affect the alphabet people, which is a statement that you really could apply two different sayings to. The first being believe them when they tell you who they are, and the second one would be saying the quiet part out loud. Because they're leftists, they couldn't just leave it at their claim that it's going to harm the alphabet people. They also said that this would negatively affect black and brown people as well.
We are concerned that the harsher penalties contained in this bill will disproportionately impact marginalized communities, particularly black and brown individuals who...
In addition to saying that this bill is anti-rainbow people and is racist, they also claim that there's not always a binary between who is the victim and who perpetrated the crime.
Are we talking individuals as in victims or the person that actually committed the crime?
I would attest to say that often there's not such a binary between that many currently incarcerated
there actually
people.
is. There's a crime and there's the victim and there's the person that actually did it.
It is my belief that these two people are honestly too dumb to even know what they're saying. They're just stuck in this leftist circle that whenever they oppose something, they either say it's racist or it's somehow against a group that they are aligned with.
This bill on behalf of California District Attorneys Association.
One after one.
Supporting the bill in its original writing by Senator Grove.
Person after person.
Survivor of human sex trafficking.
Many of them sex trafficking survivors.
Full support of Senator Grove's original version of the bill.
Stepped forward, supporting State Senator Shannon Grove and her sex buyers bill.
I believe that adults who attempt to or actually buy children for sex in the state of California should go to prison.
Grove is going after those who buy sex with minors. The senator originally posed making it a felony for someone to solicit teenagers 17 and younger. That bill, though, was amended by the Senate Public Safety Committee to not include 16 and 17, something that didn't sit well with Grove.
This does not help 16 and 17-year-olds.
Grove hoped the committee on the Assembly side would restore SB 1414 to its original form. But there are some who believe the bill would cause an unfair playing field.
We are concerned that the harsher penalties contained in this bill will disproportionately impact marginalized communities, particularly black and brown individuals.
The committee ended up changing the bill again, this time including 16 and 17-year-olds, but with a catch. Prosecutors now have to prove the 16 and 17-year-olds were not only solicited for sex, but also victims of sex trafficking.
I applaud you for bringing this issue forward. I support your bill, and I'm here today to support your bill and make it stronger. This is a business where you don't always get everything you want.
This was not negotiated in good faith.
Grove believes the changes are just political showmanship.
So I think that Kevin McCarty is looking for a way to be able to put 16 and 17-year-olds back in the bill and say he was successful in that, and he only damaged them further.
SB 1414 is now a step closer to passing. But the question remains, what form of the bill will ultimately be passed into law?
Is this all smoke and mirrors, you think?
I believe it's all smoke and mirrors.
The Democrat position on this is so ridiculous that one of their own decided to call it out on the Senate floor.
As a progressive, proud member of this body for the last 12 years, I'm done. I'm done with us protecting people who would buy and abuse our children. I'm done. I don't want to send more black and brown men to prison. I don't want more people in prison, but I don't want people buying girls. I don't want people buying little girls anymore. And I'm tired of saying it's okay and that we have to protect the men who do it. Again, I am not arguing that we open the gates to flood our prisons with people, but I am arguing that we have a moral responsibility to say enough. Enough. We have given away enough on this area, and we've got to move back into the center or we all look like fools and laughing stocks. But they shouldn't have to live a life determined by what happens to them by others at a very young age and by have the Democratic Party of California say it's okay.
If you want the full context of their comments, although it really doesn't help their case, here you go.
Good afternoon, Chair and committee members. My name is Isabella Borgeson, and I'm campaign manager at the Ella Baker Center for Human Rights, where we work to advance racial and economic justice to ensure dignity and opportunity for people with low income as well as people of color. I want to acknowledge the survivors here today, and name that we all have the shared goal of protecting children from harm. Unfortunately, today EBC must strongly oppose Senate Bill 1414 for the reasons I will state. We stand against any punitive measure that perpetuates systemic injustices, and we emphasize instead the need for community-based solutions. We strongly support investments in victim services and programs to provide housing and other alternatives to help people escape trafficking. We are concerned that the harsher penalties contained in this bill will disproportionately impact marginalized communities, particularly Black and Brown individuals who already bear the brunt of systemic biases within our criminal justice system. Under current California law, defendants could face years or even decades in prison for sexual violence committed against a minor, not just 6 months in jail as Senator Grove and prosecutors have previously claimed. Furthermore, the approach outlined in SB 1414 diverts resources from vital programs and services aimed at supporting survivors of human trafficking and sexual exploitation, opting instead to increase funding for lengthy jail terms. Our research has shown that punitive measures such as lengthy incarceration and registries do little to prevent crime or protect communities. Instead, they perpetuate cycles of incarceration, exacerbating the very problems they are meant to address. Rather than investing in punitive measures, we should be investing in community-based solutions that address the underlying issues driving exploitation. We should instead support survivors in healing and rebuilding their lives with access to housing and funding for service providers. Given this, we respectfully urge you to oppose SB 1414. Thank you.
Thank you. You have 2 minutes more.
Good afternoon, Chairperson and members of the Assembly Public Safety Committee. My name is Kelly Walters. I'm a former criminal defense attorney and civil rights litigator. Today I'm representing Legal Services for Prisoners with Children, and I'm here to express our opposition to Senate Bill 1414, which proposes significant changes to the penalties for soliciting a minor. As an organization dedicated to building public awareness and stopping bias and policing the courts and the prison system, we do feel this bill is deeply flawed and contradicts our core values and principles. We are sympathetic to the intention of this bill and share the goal of protecting minors from exploitation and abuse. We believe that SB 1414 takes an overly punitive approach that fails to address the root causes of these issues and will not effectively stop sexual violence. We are particularly concerned that the harsher penalties proposed in this bill will disproportionately impact marginalized communities, especially members of the LGBTQ community, who already suffer from systematic biases within the criminal justice system, particularly when it comes to sexually based offenses. Studies have shown that LGBTQ people, particularly gay and transgendered individuals, are more likely to be charged with sex offenses compared to their heterosexual counterparts. For instance, LGBTQ individuals are 9 times more likely to be charged with sodomy. Measures like SB 1414 lead to higher rates of incarceration, longer sentences, and increased difficulties in finding housing and employment. Nearly 65% of LGBTQ individuals on these registries reported being incarcerated compared to 53% of their heterosexual counterparts, with many receiving sentences of 25 years or more. Investing in community-based solutions can help break these cycles by providing essential support and resources to those at risk and those who have suffered exploitation. This shift in approach holds the potential for positive change and a brighter future for these individuals, a shift that has not happened with punitive measures.
Thank you. Thank you. Others in opposition, please come forward.
Margot George on behalf of the California Public Defenders Association. We're in opposition. I'm here for technical assistance.
Okay, thank you.
Danica Roder, I'm on behalf of Smart Justice California and Initiate Justice in respectful opposition.
Shivani Nishar with Ella Baker Center in respectful opposition. I'm also registering opposition on behalf of Just Advocate, California Innocence Coalition, Uncommon Law, CURB, and Felony Murder Elimination Project.
Melanie Kim, San Francisco Public Defender's Office, respectful opposition.
Duke Cooney on behalf of ACLU California Action, respectful opposition. Thank you.
Jim Lindbergh, Friends Committee on Legislation of California, opposed. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other individuals testifying in support or opposition.
Do you want to let them check outside?
They're checking.
Oh, they did. Sorry, sir.
Yeah. Sorry. Questions or comments from committee members?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the opposition, talked about victim services to support the victims. What kind of examples do we have?
I'm happy to follow up with examples of community-based organizations, many of whom I'm sure are in the room today, who provide services to survivors. The Ella Baker Center for Human Rights works with thousands of currently incarcerated people across California, including their loved ones, many of whom identify as survivors themselves, with reentry services, supporting them in finding stable employment. We believe that investing in individuals' stability and being able to support them holistically in their journey home as they come home.
So are we talking individuals as in victims or the person that actually committed the crime?
I would attest to say that often there's not such a binary between that many currently incarcerated
there actually
people.
is. There's a crime and there's the victim and there's the person that actually did it. So are you saying you're providing services for the victim or the person that committed the crime?
I'm saying that we're providing services, us along with many other organizations across California, many of whom are here today, provide services to support survivors, regardless of whether or not they've been incarcerated or criminalized for actions that they've taken.
Okay, and you also mentioned research. You guys have research. Who did the research and when was it done?
That would
And
I actually did want to comment on your
Okay, go ahead.
Can you move the mic closer?
You sure can.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've previously worked in several shelters that were devoted specifically to survivors of domestic violence and sexual abuse. And frankly, I originally took a very similar approach in that I thought punitive measures would be the way to go. And I've since, after reading multiple research things and experiencing it myself with my particular clients at the time, realized that all the punitive measures that we've taken over the many, many years haven't really done anything. And so it's time to try something new.
So you're saying that your victims did not feel safe when the person that committed the crime was in prison or in jail or away from them?
I would say that generally, no, they didn't.
Because my experience as a domestic violence detective and as a crimes against children detective was the abuser or the person that committed the crime, when they were put away, my victims felt very safe. And they were scared when they got out. And it totally contradicts what you're saying right now. So I don't believe that. Senator, go ahead. You have a question.
I just
Or
want to
reply.
bring back the attention to the dais that my bill addresses the purchaser that buys a minor child for sex. It has nothing to do with domestic violence, and it doesn't address the issues that I realize we're not doing wraparound services and all this. I'm trying to stop the demand by going after the buyers. And the opposition from the public defender's side have also come into this building several times on another piece of legislation to increase the age of individuals for minors that can't think for themselves because their brains haven't developed to the age of 26, but they're supporting something that would make 16 and 17-year-olds ability to make decisions that are well beyond their reach as well.
Okay. And just one last thing, Mr. Chair. I have found that for the most part, the victims are usually the ones that are left out. They're the ones that don't get a voice up here. And I think that is what needs to be changed. I think what it needs to go back to is giving the person that made that decision to commit that crime, to do that terrible act, needs to be put away. Are we talking individuals as in victims or the person that actually committed the crime?
I would attest to say that often there's not such a binary between that. We are concerned that the harsher penalties contained in this bill will disproportionately impact marginalized communities, particularly Black and brown individuals.
We are particularly concerned that the harsher penalties proposed in this bill will disproportionately impact marginalized communities, especially members of the LGBTQ community.
We're coming for your check.